Hi everyone, Dean Ellis from Dartech again, and this tutorial we're going to cover off on the remaining two tabs for the Article Manager options. That is the Integration and Permissions tab. Now the integration is all about the syndication feeds or RSS feeds, and I've tried a number of ways to see what this does to make it work, and I'm really a little bit confused as to the value and how this actually works properly. But I think I've found a few things. A lot of the documentation I've gone to and studied up on with this doesn't tell you a whole lot of anything really. And I've had I've had a couple of days worth of playing around and seeing what happens, and really the documentation doesn't really explain it that well. So here's what I've found. With the show feed link setting here, option here, you need to create a module, all right? And the module is a syndication feed. Now I'll cover off on how to create certain modules and what they do in another playlist. Basically, so what I've done is I've created a module and placed it on the front end, and it's called RSS Feed, as you can see here. All right, this is a syndicated feed. Now what this does is it allows readers to subscribe to your website using their syndication or RSS feeds. Now there's a few issues here. This depends a lot on web browsers and what functionality they have in their web browsers themselves. Because I found when I clicked on this from Google Chrome being a very featureless and efficient browser, doesn't have a RSS feed in it. So when you click on it, all it shows is a bunch of text in XML format. Okay, not very helpful or useful to anyone, and you can't subscribe to anything. However, Chrome does have extensions that you can use, and I won't get into those. I found one just recently, and I installed that, and obviously it shows that you can subscribe to your articles list and see a whole range of feeds from there. What I have found though is when I opened up Firefox, I found the site still there, okay, and the RSS feed here. When I click on the RSS feed this time, Firefox came up with a much more user-friendly RSS feed page, and it allowed you to subscribe to the RSS feed. So it's very much dependent on what browser you use and how the browser handles RSS feeds. So it's a little bit of a anomaly there. I'm not quite sure if it's worth going. I don't want to go into the details of how to set up RSS feeds. Maybe I'll do that in a different tutorial and go through RSS feeds on different browsers and how to set them up. So going back to the tutorials here, we can hide that particular link, which is this link here, simply by clicking on hide the show feed link. Now I find that rather useless because why have it if you don't want to show it? So I'll click save. Now notice the feed module has disappeared. Again, I see it as a very pointless exercise, because if you didn't want the module to be displayed, then you shouldn't have actually created the module in the first place. So kind of a bit of a useless effort here. I'm not quite sure what's going on with that and how I should use it. For the next one, for each feed item, show intro text and full text. Now to do this one, I had to create another module that brought in a feed from another website. Now if you notice down the side here, you see the Ramey National. This is from the another site that I manage here, the Ramey Association site, and there's the Core History Project, the Operation Spanish Act and About Us articles in a blog layout or a featured blog layout. So when I go back into the article list, there's the Core History Project there. We have Operation Spanner Pack and About Us. Don't worry too much about the size of the thing, that's just a template layout. The text here is show intro text and full text. Now we learnt from earlier areas in the options that the intro text has to do with the read more button, whether you want to show the intro text along with the article, etc., etc. If you can't remember that, go back into the articles tutorial for the articles tab and just have a re-listen to it and go through the intro text and what they mean. Now if I click on the intro text, if I go to the articles list, there's not a whole lot there. The Core History Project has all of the text, because if you go into the national site, you see the whole text there. right? So the last words is regards Ross. We go in there, regards Ross, so it's all there. The Operation Spanner Pack, however, went to just the intro text, right, from the intro text on here with the read more button. Okay, same for the About Us. However, when you click on the full text and go save, nothing happens. So I'm not sure what's going on with the syndication feed as just a link to your articles or bringing in a feed from another website. This drop down, I'm not quite sure what it does at all, if anything. So maybe someone who has a bit more nous or has found something about it, feel free to point me in the right direction, but I see it as a pretty useless tool. And the same for the read more button. Show or hide the read more button. Well, there is no read more button on the syndication feed that you created to go out, and there's no read more button on the feeds coming in. So I really don't know what you're going to hide. Again, we can hide it. It makes no difference. And there you go. There's no difference whatsoever. So really, I think if you really want to go down the RSS path, I think you should still go to an extension and look for a good extension that does good RSS feeds for Joomla. I don't think the Joomla core has really mastered RSS feeds properly at the moment. So really, I'm going to leave it at that because this is really a useless piece of information. Unless someone can show me otherwise, I'm not even going to touch this anymore. I'm going to go down the extension path and use that. All right, on to permissions. Okay, looks pretty daunting when you look at it initially, but really this is the generic permissions for all things Joomla. Okay, and this is how it's configured. Now I'll do a separate tutorial on security and permissions and how to set it up because it can be a little bit complex. But if you wanted to change something as far as permissions go for the articles, you need to understand that the public is your reader, okay, and they're not allowed to do anything to the site. I would suggest you leave that as it is. If you've got a guest in there, again, same thing. These people are strangers that you don't know, all right? So you really don't want them playing around with the site. Managers on the other hand, if you've allocated a manager to the site, he has access to the admin site, the admin area, and he can create, delete, edit on the site. And what that means is when you log into the front end, you'll see that there's an edit link here. Okay, if they have the manager access and they can do these events, they'll be able to edit the site from the front end. Okay. As a manager, they'll also be able to access the back end as well if you give them the link to it. All right, same for the administrator, they have rights for everything. Okay, registered users don't. Now this is a registered user is simply someone that's given you their username and email address that you put in a list. You still may not know them, so they're still not allowed to do anything. Okay, an author, if you have an author for your website, you allow them to create articles and they can edit their own articles. Okay, they can't delete, edit or edit state of anyone else's articles, right? Which is fair enough. So you might have multiple authors for your site, how you create it, and they can only create and edit their own articles. Okay, an editor again has a little bit more access where he can create and edit his own, but he can also edit other people's articles as well. Okay, publisher has a little bit more access again. He can publish or archive articles. All right, and obviously super users are the webmasters. They can do everything anyway. So these are the generic setups, and they're fairly well thought out and arranged, and there's really no need to change anything. And if you want people to have different access to articles, you do it through the user manager section, of which I'll do another playlist on how to deal with those. Okay, so I wouldn't touch this. This is basically if you want to be specific, and you'd use this more for when you start creating user groups. Okay, so this is where that comes into it. So as a generic layout, I just leave it as it is and not touch it. Okay, And they are the last two tabs on the article manager options. Probably the least used tabs out of the whole lot. I feel you didn't get a whole lot out of this tutorial other than don't worry about them. Now that we've covered off on all the article options, I'm going to go into creating the article and what you can do inside an article and all the buttons inside that. Okay, so I hope you liked the tutorial. If you did, hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll keep pumping out these tutorials. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you on the next one. Bye for now.